All right. Welcome back to Michelle and Mickey's Performance Podcast. Michelle, I think the last we spoke, you were going to start your new high school swim coaching situation and job. How is it going?
It's going. It I'll just start off by saying it's way more fun, way more intriguing, way more interesting, way more motivating. I think for me, and I hate to speak for them, but I think I can tell by the way that they respond to like what we're doing there that it is a really positive situation for everybody. But it is interesting how much more I like it than I thought I would. And I think that
That's
a lot of
awesome.
it is like in for the longest time, I mean, so like my daughter is 17 now and she's a senior. And so I don't want to say like on her own, but like, I mean, she's got a car, she's got a job, and she's got friends and like stuff that she's doing. So like my job as a mom has largely shifted from what it used to be. And when I first started coaching, it was really like right after she was born. So I've been coaching, her whole life.
Yeah.
And largely my thinking at those times were like remote coaching fit into my life really well because that way I could be home to be
Hmm.
a mom mostly. But as things shift and like phases of life changes, and I feel like that's largely why I felt okay about taking this high school coaching job, right? Because like now at this point, I'm outside of my home coaching 5 nights a week because I coach high school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I coach masters Tuesday, Thursday. And like that's not something I was willing to do when my daughter was 8 or 9 or 10,
Hmm.
But now like she's hardly even home either. So it's like, well, what am I doing home? Right? Just waiting for her. So anyway, that was just sort of my thinking like, oh, okay, I can do this. And now I feel like I'm so glad that I am having this experience now because again, like at some point, she'll go off to college and then she'll be like, I don't know where she's going to end up living eventually, but within the next couple of years, she won't be living here at home at all anymore. And these are like really big shifts for women my age, right? You start launching your
Hmm.
kids and then it's like, well, now what? Right. And the world opens up for you in a way or it's opening up for me in a way that I didn't feel like it was open before. And now that I have this opportunity to coach these high school kids, I'm feeling like this is largely my jam. Like this is like I'm good at this. Like I'm better teaching people in person than I thought I was going to be, but it was largely because I haven't really done that. Most of my coaching has been, remote or, we're emailing, we're texting, like I'm writing the programs, I'm reading the files and like I can do all of
Hmm.
that. And I'm not saying I'm going to give that up, but I just think that like on top of doing that, I have the capacity now to do more in-person group coaching in a way that I didn't like used to love it. But yeah, it's been really fun. Like I think I had some anxieties, if you will, about like how are they going to listen to me, especially the boys. And a lot of that was because I've had a daughter and like her girlfriends to come over and her like I feel like I know how to deal with high school girls and I know how to gain like their confidence and their trust. And I haven't really worked with high school boys, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Is it different? Like, are they
Yeah.
going to think I'm dorky? Are they going to listen to me? Are they going to roll their eyes with me at me or whatever? And so it was interesting. So my very first night coaching, it was in the afternoon. Juana came home from school and she was on the phone with one of her friends who happened to be a boy. And he was on a baseball team for like his high school. And so I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm going to meet these kids, for the first time. Do you have any advice for me? Like, what should I tell them? What should I, like let them know? Blah, blah, blah. It was really fascinating to get their opinions because, like, this is not what I would have thought, right? Like, I would have done it differently, but because, like, my daughter and her friends told me this, I'm like, okay, I'll try that. And, like, let's see. So they said, it specifically came from her friend, said, make sure that they know that you know what you're doing. And I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting thing. Like, I think his point was establish credibility, right? So, like, you're the new coach coming in. And so, like, as the high school athlete, what do they want to know about their new coach? And from their perspective, from these kids' perspective, it was like, we want to know that our coach knows what they're doing. And then Juana's point was make sure that they know that you're excited to be there. Right? And they're
Yeah.
like, those are the
That's
two
huge with
things
kids, I
that
think.
you're
Yeah.
excited to be there and you know what you're doing. And from there, you can do anything, like they'll listen to you and they'll do anything. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I told them that whole story and I told them, I'm like, I asked specifically my daughter and her friend, what should I tell you? And they told me to tell you this. And the kids all kind of like laughed and went with it. And it was just really fascinating to me because it made me think that, like, how sad for kids that largely many of the adults that they're exposed to who are meant to be like teaching and guiding and coaching them, at least from the kids' perspective, they either don't know what they're doing or they don't care. They don't really want to be there. And so you can imagine like that dynamic where high school kids can potentially get a bad reputation for being like, they'll talk back at you or they'll be snotty or they're not listening or they're not trying. Like that, that's a reputation that I feel like high schoolers tend to get. But it's like, boy, does that make sense to me that they would act like that if their perception of their coach or their teacher or their leader or their parent, whoever, doesn't care, doesn't want to be there, or like just doesn't know what they're doing. Right. So like in that situation, like why would the teenager then give credence or pay attention or feel like they have something to learn? And so like literally on day one, so I've been playing like language games with them, like the mindset stuff. So I'm working like the first 15 minutes of every practice. So just like sit down and we do language games, mindset work, just like with one sort of topic or concept. And then we get into practice. And then in practice, we are alluding to that thing that we were talking about earlier. So for example, the first night we did, like, I have a whiteboard and I wrote on the whiteboard, I have to swim, and it was like, how does that make you feel? I have to swim. Like, well, like, I'm not really that excited to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so, like somebody's forcing me to be here. Like, I feel pressure from outside. I have to swim. Okay, good. What are some other have tos, right? So we went through, I have to, I have to swim backstroke. No, even worse. Okay, what? And like, we don't like swimming backstroke because blah, 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 right? And so we went through all those. And then we just changed like the one word and I erased the half and I wrote get, right? And now I get to swim. And you could hear it audibly. Like when I wrote the word get, it was like they had this cognitive shift that like, you get to swim. You get to swim backstroke. You get to dive off the blocks. You get to learn flip turns. You get to like, right. And it's like, how does it change when you just switch out that one word? I have to, do I get to? And they all went like, yeah, like it changed the mood of the whole practice right from that one word. And then I reminded them, I'm like, here's the thing, being on this swim team is a choice for all of you. So you're choosing to be here. I'm choosing to be here. I don't have to do this. I'm choosing this. Our assistant coaches are choosing to be here. And if we all want to be here, then we are way more likely to be like paying attention and giving our best effort. And if we're paying attention and giving our best effort, we're likely to find some good results from that, right? And then when we find good results from that, our motivation will go up. And now we're really even more excited to come to practice because I see that like what I'm doing is working, I'm getting better, and it all just like blossoms from there. And so that's largely just how I started it off. Like the first night was like, this is a choice. You don't have to be here. You get to be here. And establishing that from the beginning, I think was really cool. And I'll tell you, like the first night, like I had no idea what to expect, right? Like how good a swim, like where I couldn't even write a workout. I don't know. But like, you guys just get in and swim, like, let me just see what you can do, can you do a flip turn? What's it look like? Show me, can you do backstroke? What's it look like? Show me. And, yeah, we have 28 kids, Mikki, and they're all the levels. I've got kids that could potentially make the finals at the state championships.
Wow.
And there's a girl that is incapable of treading water.
Wow. That's a big range
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Challenging.
So it was like
Challenging. Yeah.
everything in the middle. So I'm like, okay, well, and so I'm like, well, thank God for two assistant coaches. And like, and let me just say
Yeah.
this point too, because I guess that, so I'm new to this whole program, but the two assistant coaches they have kids that have been on the team, and both of them have kids, like their kids are seniors. So they've been like with the team for 3 years. And so again, if you're talking about like, well, like anxiety and intimidation and all this, it's like, I know about coaching. It's like, I don't know about coaching in this particular scenario. I don't know how this team has functioned in the past. And I don't know how this team, right. And
Right.
so, you do worry a little bit, like, am I doing it right? Like, am I doing it in the best way possible? And like, what have they done in the past? But apparently, like one of the parents he's a volunteer assistant coach. And he's like, I'm just here because I want to be, because like I have the time, my kids on this team, like I feel like the kids can benefit from me helping out. And like, yeah, when you have that level of difference in ability level to have like 3 different adults on deck where like you take a lane 1, you take lane 2, and I'll take lanes 3, 4, and 5. Right. And then we
Right.
work from there.
Right.
But it's like otherwise it would just be absolutely impossible to serve all those kids
Yeah.
adequately. And I know because some of the kids have told me that their problem with coaches in the past is that they feel ignored. Like I'm here working as hard as I can. I don't feel like the coach sees me. Right. And like now that I am that coach on deck with 28 people, you're like, yeah, like I see
Yes.
how it would be that a kid would feel like I'm not seen here at practice because some kids demand your attention and they demand your
Hmm.
attention because they're either like really good, really loud, or really needy somehow, right? And when I say that, I don't mean it in a negative way, but just meaning like they really have no idea what they're doing. So if they're going to get anything done, you have to be like right on top of them. And so largely the ones that get lost are the ones in the middle, right?
Hmm.
Like the ones that are
Yeah.
they're there, they know what they're doing enough that the coach doesn't have to be on top of them every second. They're trying really hard and they're trying to get your attention, but they're doing it silently. And so it's so easy to miss. So I really appreciate the kids telling me all of that so that I know, so that then I'll go out of my way and I've made it like my mission to try to recognize every kid somehow
Hmm.
at
Yeah.
practice every time, right? Like for something. I'm gonna let you know that like I see you. But one of the assistant coaches, he at the end of practice on Friday, I went up to him and I just told him, I'm like, you are a godsend. Like, thank you so much for being here. Like, because he doesn't, I mean, he's not getting paid at
Hmm.
all. He's been there
Yeah.
every single time and what he's doing is incredible. And he was like, well, thank you for recognizing that. He goes, in the past, the coaches, he goes, when I asked them, how can I help? They didn't even want me on deck, like at time
Hmm.
when we're practicing, right? They're like,
Yeah.
well, you can come to the meets and you can time, or like, you can bring snacks to the meets, or you can, like the things that like we quote unquote let parents do. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you didn't know how to coach swimming, like that would be your best contributor. You're a swimmer and you know what you're doing here. So like you're a godsend. Like thank you so much for being here. And it baffles me that like I'm trying to imagine what kind
Well, I
of
think,
ego I would have to like not allow a parent who knows what they're doing be on deck and working with kids that are trying to learn how to swim.
yeah, I think there's a lot of coaches that fall into that though, unfortunately, right? Like they feel threatened. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, but one, it's ego. I mean, or and it's usually not that it's like they're lacking the confidence to be able to stand up there and do their coaching while they've got, what they see as a competitor, right? A parent competitor coach. Yeah, I don't know. I would not, I would take with that many kids and with that wide a diversity, I would definitely take the help, especially if the parent knows what if they're a swimmer, they know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Free coaching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know he's
Yeah.
awesome. Like it's been really cool. So anyway, one of the things we got into was so in the second week of practice, so last week, and I'm going to write a Substack about this, I think, because it's been like a really cool topic because we worked on it all week. But the sentence that I started off on the whiteboard for everybody was to say like I can't swim backstroke, right? I can't dive off the blocks. I can't do a flip turn. I can't blah blah blah, pick the thing, right? And but it was all swimming related, and I told them, I'm like, these sentences that I'm giving you are all swimming related because we are on the swim team and we're using swimming to learn about how to improve ourselves in life, right? So like I'm using swimming examples here, but be aware that you can use this for like any part of your life at all, right? And so anyway, it was, I had each kid like read one of the sentences, and how does it feel when you say or even think that, right? I can't swim backstroke, right? Like I can't swim butterfly, I can't dive off the box. And they all, were just admitted like that actually feels like. It feels limiting. It feels like I'm not good enough. It feels like I probably won't even learn how to do that. Like, that's a mindset that whenever you say you can't do something, you're really largely closing your brain down to even trying, right? Because like you just don't believe that you can do it, and you'll largely be shut down. And I pointed that out as a judgment statement. So you're judging yourself right now, right? That you say I can't do that, and it's a judgment statement. And so then I just went and added one word to each sentence, and I wrote the word yet at the end of each one. And again, all the kids are like, yeah, how does it change when the sentence is I can't dive off the blocks yet. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. It opens up the possibility that I could learn how to do that, right? Like I might learn how
Hmm.
to do it. Good. Yeah. So what happens is that becomes a curiosity statement then, right? So we went from judging ourselves for not being able to do something to a different mindset of curiosity. Like, I wonder if I could do that. What would it take to do that? Right? If I learned how to do that, if I tried to do that, if I dove off the side first, and if then I jumped off the block, and then I watched my friends dive off the block, and the coach told me what to do, like then might I be able to do it? Like maybe that's a curiosity thing. And so I told him, I'm like, we're going to go into this session, and it was largely like a technique based session. We were working on like the breaking down freestyle and backstroke like as strokes and like learning how to do them. And so I'm like, I'm going to ask you in this practice to approach this with a degree of curiosity. So when I'm asking you to do something, if you can't do it yet, remind yourself that it's yet and get curious. Like, what happens if you do this with your head? Or what happens if you move your hand like that? Or what happens if you relax your ankles? What happens if you try to initiate that movement from your hips? Or like whatever the thing was, right? So we just did a bunch of 25s. And it was really funny because I have a couple of kids on the team who are great. Like they're boys again, which made me nervous. So like, are these boys going to hear me? Like the boys are totally listening, by the way. Like it's so much fun. They look me in the eye when I'm talking to them. I can tell like they are trying, like they want to hear what I'm saying, which I'm like, wow, I shattered my preconceived notion, which was clearly incorrect about boys who are seniors and not listening to coaches. But anyway, a couple of the kids on the team also run cross country, and so they're really good runners. Like they're better runners currently than they are swimmers, which is common, right? Like I mean, you have a lot like people who are really good at swimming tend to not
May
be
not be.
as talented with running, right? And a lot of people who are runners tend to not be as agile in the water. And so anyway, these runners I was having him do like kick sets, which I don't have like my triathletes do kick sets very much. I don't ask masters to do kicking very much, but in this realm, because like you're sprinting these strokes, like kicking is really important to develop like in this scenario. So I'm like, okay, I need to bring kicking in, teaching them how to kick like on their side without a board or whatever. And the kids that have been swimming for a long time with their club team, right? Like they're like, they just like kick straight across the pool, like no effort, it's all fine. And then you have like these other kids who are like otherwise really good athletes, but you put them in like in this environment and ask them to do this particular thing, and they're like, oh my God, I can't do this. And so like I walked up at the end of like their 25 kicking, and I went to the lane full of these like athletic boys who are learning to swim. And I was like, how many of you are thinking right now, oh my God, I suck at kicking? And they all like started laughing, right? Because I just called out like what they were thinking. And they're like, me, oh my God, I suck at kicking and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's a judgment statement. So here you are. And I'm like, and when you judge, what happens is you shut down learning. And I feel like this is a springboard, that we can talk about and use for like pick the athlete in any level of development, in any sport, in any area. Like if you judge yourself and you're like, oh my God, I suck at kicking so much, and then you just leave it there, then every time a kick set comes up at practice, you're going to try to find a way to fudge it or like, just get through it as fast as you can and move on to the next thing because you didn't like that, you weren't good at it. And I'm like, but what if we approach it with curiosity? You're not good at kicking yet, right? But like, let's try some things and like, let's just see what happens. And so I would give them a couple of cues, relax your ankles and see if you can go real floppy, like go inside pigeon toed, like with your big toes together, see if that helps, and then there was like, oh, they were all moving better. I'm like, was that better? It was. Okay. So you approach that with curiosity, and then like your ability to learn expanded. So like, what else can you approach with curiosity as we go along? So yeah, those are, anyway, I feel like I've been talking a lot. The curiosity versus judgment thing is like take that and run with it, because like pick an area and
Yeah.
then we apply that mindset.
Even outside sport, right? I mean, like any area, it is, yeah. And we lose it. Kids, I've always said that kids are natural scientists, right? Kids are curious, and through culture, society, whatever, I don't know the reasons, but it's like driven out of a lot of people, and that's sad.
I
But
think
yeah,
it's
everyone's a
judgment, honestly.
scientist.
So like
Yeah,
what happens is, because
yeah,
I've learned a lot about like curiosity and judgment, like and it's a lot because like I have to get all my ducks in a row as I teach all this stuff, right? So I'm like, when I come up with a concept that I want to teach them, then I will go research it more so that I understand it better. Curiosity and judgment are literally the opposite of each other,
I
and the
could see
one
that. Yeah,
shuts the other down, right? So when you find yourself in judgment statements of yourself or of other people. Right? Because like,
Hmm.
haven't we all done that too? You watch somebody and you're judging
Oh, yeah.
them and you're judging what they're doing and blah, blah, blah. And it literally, it like floods your brain with cortisol. And like, I mean, it's a real thing. It's not like you're just
Yeah.
imagining it, but you actually
Yeah.
shut down your learning process when you go into judgment. And so
Well,
kids
it's
would
because
be
yeah.
naturally
Hmm.
curious because they
Hmm.
haven't really learned to judge each
Yeah.
other as much yet. Right?
Yeah.
Like, or they're just sort of starting to, but if we can nip that in the bud, but with adults, like we've all, we learn that like we're not good enough, or like in order to prove my worth I have to succeed at this level, or like those types of things. And when we're super judgmental internally like that, we are less likely to take a risk and get curious and try new things and approach with an open mind. And so
Yeah.
I do think
Yeah.
that they're opposite. And I think
Yeah.
as soon as the
Yeah.
judgment comes in, that the curiosity shuts down. And I think that when we can bring the curiosity to the forefront, the judgment largely goes away.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. There's something also about judgment, I think, in terms of when people judge, is like they get you're right, cortisol goes up, and it's why does it go up? I think there's a component of ego, right? Like a commitment, or like if you are judging, you're judging yourself, it's like, well, I'm because I care, I'm committed, and the judgment is like a it's almost used positively, right? Like if you're a super judgmental person, it means you're really on top of things and you're really, but and I guess I'm in like some areas of science, yes, you need judgment, right? Like you need to be able to critically assess, but critically assessing may be different than just an outright blanket judgment before you even have time to do the data analysis, right? So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it comes off as like, well, I'm judging because I care, or I'm judging because I'm a smart person, or, it's like, well, no, actually, you're just I mean, maybe you are. If you're going through the steps of like what you need to do to judge with a rational mind instead of an emotional mind, right? Then
But
that's
even but
okay.
that is
But
curiosity
but
though,
even
right? So
yeah,
curiosity is it's
absolutely.
curiosity is largely like, what happens if I try it this way? And I'm just going to try with an open
Right.
mind, right? If I try to like move my head in a certain way, what happens? And if I'm body aware and I can pay attention to like, how does it change the way I'm moving? Then I can be like, well,
Hmm.
that was better. And so I'll judge that as better. Perfect. And I'll
Right.
like
Right.
incorporate that like into my, but I think largely what the concepts that you were just getting at, and this is something I haven't touched on yet with the swim team, but it is on my list. Because what happens is whenever I come up with like, or an idea of, that's a concept that I want to teach them, like largely around mindset, and then figure out how to like incorporate it into our training and our racing and our evaluation of our racing, is the difference between perfectionism and healthy striving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's perfectionism, which is like largely like, I have to put on this show of looking and being perfect and doing everything
Hmm.
exactly right. And that's largely because like I'm so afraid of being shamed or criticized that I don't
Hmm.
want to give
Hmm.
you any reason at all to criticize me. And like largely perfectionism, interestingly, comes from a place of like a deep seated lack, right? Like I don't feel like I'm good enough inside. And so I have to put on this air of performance of perfection, that I can't make a
Hmm.
mistake because I don't want to be criticized. Versus there's a healthy striving. And so people will say that perfectionism, like, well, if I stop doing that, I'll stop trying, or I'll stop achieving, or I'll stop, and like achieving is important to me. So how do we get the result if I don't demand perfection from myself?
Hmm.
Right? Or if the
Hmm.
coach doesn't demand perfection from their swimmers, how do we get the result? And it's like, well, there's a difference between perfectionism and healthy striving. Whereas a healthy striving is like, I want to be better. And the difference is this. And when I read it or heard it, I was like, oh, boy, does that make sense? So the healthy striving is when I'm going after my very best for me because I want it. Like, I don't give a shit what you think. I don't care what the coach thinks. I don't care what the time is. I don't care what like, I'm going after, because like, and this could be, you could literally put this in any realm. Like, let's say that like you are unhappy with your current body image and like you want to lose 12 pounds. Like, you could go about that from being driven by perfectionism, because like in the media and in the, we see these pictures of these people and their clothes fit a certain way. And like, we want our clothes to fit that way too, so that we fit in. So we're perfect. Like that model looks like it's perfect, right? Like we're going for it for that reason, because like, I want to look good to make sure everybody else sees that I look good. There's that. And then there's the healthy striving way that says, you know what, when I'm 12 pounds lighter than I am right now, I just feel better in my body. I feel like I move better. I feel healthier. I sleep better. My brain, like there's less brain fog. And it's largely because like I'm doing all these things, like I'm eating cleaner and I'm eating less and I'm skipping the late night snack and the processed foods and I'm exercising more. And when I do that, I feel better. I just feel like
Mm,
everything, I move better. Right. And that's the difference between, so it's not like what we're not doing is saying, oh, we don't care about the outcome.
mhm.
It's more about like, which path are we taking to get the outcome? And is it healthy and sustainable for you, like currently and long term?
Right.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
perfectionism and healthy striving is like, maybe that's in like 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to get there.
Yeah. No, you gotta build the pyramid slowly, right? But
Yeah. Yeah. One
it's
thing at a
awesome because it
time.
seems like, yeah, they're teenagers aren't necessarily blank canvases, but they are more blank, right? Then they don't have the history that a lot of adults do that have been doing the thing, whatever the thing is, for 10, 20, 30 years, right? And are so ingrained in like their thoughts and their judgments and their mindset. So I think we were going to this topic was going to be gratitude mindset. We've got Thanksgiving coming up. It's always a nice time to revisit gratitude. And yeah, it's always been super important in my coaching. As an example, for what it's worth, I'm going to downsize my athlete load next year. And I think I mentioned this to you already, and so I sent an email to my current athletes just saying I'm going to take on, X number. And these are some of the things that you know, these are the types of things I'm looking for if you want to continue to work together. None of it was about performance or focus or high level of training or commitment, or it was all about communication, curiosity, being curious about what's possible within the confines of your situation right now, whether that be age related, whether that be work related, whether that be whatever, right? Whatever the situation that they are in. So it's communication, and I think I even said, oh, support mechanisms, right? I was like, you're going to approach this as a more whole system, right? Like you're going to be cognizant of your sleep. You're going to be cognizant of your nutrition. You are willing to look at these things as part of your overall progress, not just the sessions I provide to you. Anyways, and so I had a few athletes that were like, yeah, I still want to work with you. And I'm like, yep, yep. But a lot of my athletes were like, well, I don't know if I qualify. I don't know if literally, like, I don't know if I'm committed enough. I don't know if I'm focused enough, and, it was just eye opening because I guess while I didn't use those terms, I thought I was, it's communication and it's mindset, right? Like I'm looking for athletes that want to have, that are willing to embrace their reality, right? They are willing to communicate. This is an aside. I'm tired of coaching in a black box, which I feel like has been an issue for a while now, right? Like people don't upload data, they don't comment. That I'm like, I'm just laying out like best guess plans based on what I, I'm tired. I'm tired of it. But really mindset. It really is like a healthy approach to their lives, right? And what I mean by healthy, it's like you're willing to look at things, you're willing to be curious, you're willing to maybe admit where you do need help, right? And maybe that is like getting a therapist, right? That's something that is beyond and you use the term like pay grade, like it's and all of these things matter. They matter a lot. So anyways, I might need to do a follow-up email. It's really, not about like how focused you are on a race, because I've worked with some very race-focused athletes that are very unhealthy mentally, in a mindset, growth strategy, however you want to frame it, and it's painful. It's painful to see. I'm sure you've had the experience of just the very, very, I mean, negativity overall, I think I would say, increased. Generally, I don't know. I mean, I try to look back, or think back to like when I started coaching, or am I more aware of it now, right? The
It might be
negativity, I
that.
don't
It's
know.
probably that. I
It's
don't
probably
think that
always
like
been
fundamental human nature has really changed that much, but I do think that
probably not.
when we change our own awareness of things and we're like,
Yeah,
oh, now I see that, right? Like in a way that I never
yeah.
saw it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
one thing that I'm going to be working on a lot with the high school athletes that I feel like I've been trying to work on it with like the adults, but again, it's different because of the nature of the coaching relationship with like when it's remote and one on one,
Mhm.
like I can only then sort of react to what that one athlete is giving me, right? So when
Mhm.
with my one on one athletes, it's more like the athlete reports the thing and then am responding to that. And every once in a while, if I think I see an issue that they maybe don't see, I'll try to shine a light on it somehow or ask a question to open a door to like, so we can dive into like this particular aspect of, mindset or whatever. But with the kids, like it's different, like being in person in a group setting. It's like I'm a teacher almost, right? Like where I'll just show up with like, here's my one lesson of the day that I want to teach you guys. While I sort of have like I don't know, like a curriculum, if you will. A lot of it will be driven by like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing.
Mhm.
So when I hear an athlete say a statement that I'm like, oh, there's a lesson in that, I just make a mental note or I write it down like in my phone in the notes tab. And then that might be the sentence that I start the next workout with. Like let's look at this sentence and think about like um how is this changing the way that we approach the thing or not? And I really think that the judgment and curiosity is got to be like it's got to be like the biggest umbrella. Like it's an umbrella, it's a foundation, it's all the things. And I think it's what our adults are struggling with too. Is like the comparison game, right? Like so I'm going to judge myself because I mean I've heard this from athletes like they'll roll up on a group ride and then decide that they don't belong at the group ride because everybody has these like cute matching kits on and their kit doesn't match. And they're going to go super judgmental in their own head and decide that my knee hurts and I'm going to ride home and not do the ride.
Mm.
Like that has happened. And I found out about it later. I'm like, what? You did what? Okay. And then it's like, that's very telling, right? About like how judgmental someone is in their own mind. Like if they're unwilling to give themselves a try because they didn't believe that they fit in with the group.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that the group was giving that vibe. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the
Mhm.
group was, I
Yeah.
think maybe that can
Yeah.
happen actually when you're in high school, or at least it did when I was in high school. These kids are nicer than I was when I was in high school. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, so I don't know if it was like if Hawaii is better than Ohio or if Gen
Could
Z
be.
is nicer than Gen X. You know what I mean? Like it literally
The
could
Gen
be like
X was pretty brutal.
there's several factors involved here, right? So like I'm unwilling to say like exactly what it is that makes these kids nicer, but like I think about like and dealing with them, watching them interact with each other, watching them cheer each other on, and then remembering how brutal I was when I was in high school. Like I was horrible to kids at times. And I'm like, I look back on that and go, I cannot believe how mean I was. Like that was just, I feel so bad. Like it was terrible. I'm like, where did I learn that? And why did I do that? And I mean, it wasn't just me, like, right. Like that's how we
Yeah.
were
Yeah. No, it's
as kids. Like we
yeah.
were mean to each other. These kids are like last week, we had 3 kids dive off the block for the very first time ever. Right? Like they'd never done it before. But we have blocks there and you're allowed to dive off them anytime. And so like I have them starting off practice, like every single practice, they start off the blocks. And I'm like, you can jump, you can dive, you can cannonball. Like I do not care. But every single time you come to practice, your first entry into the pool is off the blocks. And a lot of that is just getting comfortable with like the blocks are not this big scary thing or whatever. So if, even just doing cannonballs, right? Like you're going to perceive them, the blocks is like, that's fun to do. And I remember, so like at the end, I had a kid, again, it was one of my like new, I call him new, but like he's a runner and he's new to swimming.
Mhm.
At the end of practice, we were doing like relay starts or whatever. So I just sort of like, I mean, you can imagine the chaos and there's 28 kids and it's like just everybody just line up behind a block and like you're just going to swim in and out. And like just when the person's swimming in, like you're going to dive off and you give them like a little bit of instruction, but really it's like, just do it and figure it out. And then I'll tell you what you can do better next time. Like this one kid, he's like standing back in line. He's really cool. He's like, hey coach, what if I've never done this before? I'm like, oh, you've never dove off the block before? He goes, huh? I was like, oh, you're athletic. You'll be fine. Keep your head down, dive, go for deeper rather than shallower. And he's like, all right, just went and did it. And I was like, wow, to have like that level of
Yeah.
just athletic ability, right? To go or like he believes in himself and like this is something new, but he was totally able to do it. And it wasn't perfect, like, right? It was like kind of ugly, it was kind of sloppy, but like he entered the water on his head, hands first, right? And went sort of deep. great job. We can work with that, like get up, let's try this time, think about this next thing. But like when that you put kids, and maybe there's some peer pressure involved there too, right?
Hmm.
Like all your
Yeah.
friends are doing this right now. They're just launching their bodies off the block. Your turn. Okay, go. Don't think, just do. And they go for it. Maybe adults would be better if they would just get out of their heads a little bit more. And I did actually think about one time. This was years ago, and it was like this concept of how or why learning to swim as an adult is so much more challenging than learning to swim as a kid. Right. So like there's a giant difference. Like, so if you're a 40 to 50-year-old or whatever, and you swam as a kid, you're likely a way better swimmer right now. Even if
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't swim for 20 years, you're
Yeah.
likely a way better swimmer now than if you didn't learn how to swim until you were like 30. Right. And you've been chipping away at it every single week since then. Like the one that learned to swim as a kid will likely still be better than the one that learned as an adult, even if they hadn't been practicing that much in the middle
Yeah.
time.
I mean, it's,
Yeah. And when we look at sort of, there's two things, I think. I mean, I'm sure there's more. There's two big things that likely explain that. Number one is that kids have way better mobility than adults do. And so like they can just get in body positions that adults have a really hard time getting into. So part of the reason why swimming is hard to learn as an adult is because you're largely lacking the ability to just get in the position, like assume the shape. Like, can you get your arms above your head in a really good streamline or not? Can you rotate your body? And little kids, the kids just haven't
mhm.
like been glued down like adults have yet. But I also think that the other thing is that they just don't overthink a lot. Like some of my very best swimmers, I mean, so these are people who like, their kids, they're 14, 15, 16 years old. They are incredible swimmers. Like they're way faster than I am, like way faster than I ever was. And they have no idea what they're doing. Right. Like if you're asking them, like, how's your hand entering the water? How's your pulling? Like, what are you focusing on? And they're like, I don't know, I'm just like trying to keep up with the person next to me. Right. And so like they're not overthinking every little thing. And I think largely because of what happens, you get on a swim team like this and all your peers are doing this thing and your brain is so plastic and in this mode of like being able to learn so easily and adjust so easily that like you'll pick up on cues from like the next lane over. Like there's a kid in the
Mhm.
lane over and he's moving this certain way and you're not even consciously trying to do what he's doing. You're just trying to keep up with him. And so you look over and your brain registers the way he's moving. And then you just start doing that too. And boom, you're off to the races and doing the thing. And you're way less judgmental. So you're just like, I'm just
Yeah.
going to try to do it. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
think that as adults, sometimes what holds us back is our need to be perfect in all of our movements or judging ourselves for not being able to do it right and therefore giving up
Yeah.
too early. Um, The kids are fun
Yeah.
to
I think
work with, I'll
definitely.
tell you that.
Yeah. I think, when I saw the most progress, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I'm an adult onset swimmer, and I know that I had to work really hard to get even, and I was never coming out of the water, in the top 5%, 10%. I was probably top 15 on when I got really, but it took years and it took swimming 4 to 5 times a week, double headers in masters, when I was able to do it. I put a lot of time and effort into my swim. And what I always tell my athletes that want to improve their swim, it's consistency first, not the massive, what's coming up again in January is the 10K swim, 10K on, I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, I don't know if the triathletes still do that, but so stupid. I
Oh
mean,
no, they're
if
doing
you're
it for
swimming,
Thanksgiving. There's a whole group here
God,
that's
I
doing it
mean,
on Thanksgiving morning.
it's
100 by
like,
hundreds.
but they like swim like once a week, right? Like, I mean, or even if I had athletes that wouldn't be in the pool for, like weeks over the holidays. And then, oh, I want to jump into this 10K swim on New Year's Day. I'm like, why? Why would you like just go swim? I'd love if you just swam 3 times a week for 20 minutes. That'd be great. Anyways, I'm digressing, but doing masters, right? So I think for me, that helped a ton. And for the athletes that are willing to do it and why, it's like, so part of it is getting a coach on deck that can look at your technique, because as an adult onset swimmer, right, that helps. I mean, swimming is a lot of neuromuscular, and it's very technique based. So there is a component of getting feedback, I think, that has been really helpful. But the other thing I would say is, I think with masters is a little bit of just stop thinking and just try to keep up, right? And so even though I wouldn't say I was always looking at the faster swimmers, like there probably was a lot of learning going on watching people, trying to keep up, getting out of my own head, and just trying to make the intervals, right?
Yep.
Step aside
Yep.
and you swim until you literally cannot, and you miss an interval, then you step away and let someone else lead the lane. I mean, it's pretty simple. And so I think that can be very helpful for adult swimmers is to join a good masters team with I mean, well, I say good. Maybe it's just any masters team. I don't know. I used to be judgmental about like make sure it's a good swim team. I don't know, but just get in the pool.
Yeah. That's funny. I
Yeah.
used to be really judgmental about masters too. And now I would say my
Yeah, it
thinking
just
around that has evolved a lot. That, like, you know what? I think that being around other people and with the group and just because you're so much more likely to do something that you're uncomfortable with
yep. Yeah.
than than you would be if you were swimming alone. You're likely to just swim the stroke that you're comfortable with, to swim the pace that you're comfortable with, and even if it's fast, it's still going to be like the fastest pace you're comfortable with, not the pace that like is you're the person in the lane next to you is going. And to be fair, people are going to be like, oh, you guys are contradicting yourselves, because like a lot of times they're like, be in your own zones and blah blah.
Right.
And
Right.
like largely I agree, but like somehow with swimming, I do think that swimming is different than like biking and running.
Yeah.
Like I just, and maybe
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
um it's not
Well,
land based or whatever, but like you can work harder in the pool for longer, I think, and have less injury risk, less
yeah.
like
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and there's
yeah.
also the component of masters is that there are lanes, right? Like this, you have your
Hmm.
least fast to more fast, right? And so you can be doing similar but different workouts, right? Like, and it's not like going and doing, I mean, you could do this if you're going to go do a track session, right? Because you're all on the same track, but again, injury risk goes up quite a bit because when you're running really hard, it's hard on the body. So there is that. But a lot of times, when I have athletes, they want to do group long runs, right? And they all want to stay in the same pack, right? And it's like, but their long run effort, their long run pace is very different from yours or vice versa. And that's where I see a lot of like undue fatigue. So yeah. But with masters, I think, yes, you can swim really hard as long as you're getting decent recovery. You can do that multiple times a week. And or like if you are feeling fatigue, you can move down a lane. That's an option. Unless you're in the least fast lane. And then maybe you just need
Yeah.
to move down
Yeah.
in your lane, right? To where you need
Yeah.
to be on
Or
the
just
day.
sit
And
out at
it's not a
50.
big
I mean,
deal.
like, that's what I tell people all the time
Yeah.
when they
Sit out
come
at
to our
50.
masters. Like, look, just like
Yeah.
this workout is written for people who are like fit and in shape. If you haven't been swimming recently, it's fine. Jump
That's fine.
in, sit out at 50 every once in a while, whenever you need to. Just sit out at
Right.
50. Your whole job is just get out of the way so that the people who are like doing a flip turn behind you or whatever can
Hmm.
keep going and you're not interrupting like the flow of your lane. Then it's like, swim whatever part of this you want, and 100% of the people that come to masters get faster if they come
Hmm.
consistently.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no like
I've never seen
100,
that.
all
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah. You will
So,
benefit.
like the idea is
Yeah.
like get over yourself, because like the reason why people don't come is they think that like, oh, I don't want to be the slowest one, or I don't like
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I was in the least fast lane. I mean, I swam most of the, BAM, the Boulder Aquatic Masters with Jane Scott was like they were like I mean, there were some pros that weren't even in the fastest lane, right? Like for pro triathletes that were not because these were legit swimmers, right? They were very fast, and so yeah, I mean, by the time I kind of was stepping away, I had moved up to the second least fast, right? And sometimes I'd lead if because. Well, I was really good on the clock, right? Like I would sit out, but I was pretty focused, right? Like straight and narrow. Like I wasn't there to screw around and sit at the wall and talk. And for some people, that was why they were at masters, and that's totally fine. But Jane knew I would stick to the interval unless I was literally dying. So I had to lead a lane. I often was like, I don't want to lead a lane. She's like, you have to lead the lane. Okay, I guess I'm
well, a
leading the
lot of
lane.
times because the
You know?
coaches know too, like which ones can do math and know the clock, and
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
some that
yeah.
like literally can't. It's so funny.
They
Like
can't.
like, so if there's somebody leading the lane because they're the fastest, but they don't know how to work the clock as a 40-year-old, which happens, then it's like, as long as the send off is roomy enough that the second person can come in who knows how to read the clock, can tell the first person like when to go, then
Yeah.
it's fine. But a lot
Yeah.
of times it's like, if I know that the person leading the lane can't do the clock, I'll just give them like the
You'd be like,
simplest intervals. Like, look, it's off 140. So every time it's going to be like the top, the 40 or the 60. Like every time, that's when you're going to go. It's the next time it hits the top, the 40 or the 60. Because we have like an analog clock, like not a
yeah.
digital
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Although at high school we have a digital one. So I don't know. I mean, you got to learn how
Yeah.
to use both. But
Yeah.
yeah, the clock thing is funny. There's something else I was
Yeah.
going to say. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is another concept It's one that I have not yet breached with the high school kids, but it's on my list of things to do. It kind of fits in with like the Thanksgiving theme, and I think that adults will like largely appreciate this too. When we talk about this concept of like gratitude and being genuinely happy at the success of another person versus being like sort of jealous or envious of the success of another person. So, right. So, like,
Mhm.
once we get into high school meets, you can see like how and why I'm going to need to address this because, like, some kids are going to improve faster than others or at different rates or in different events and that kind of thing. And sometimes it can be very frustrating to watch other people improve when you're not
Mhm.
improving. And so how do we keep a really positive, like how do we keep that from being demoralizing and demotivating? And so this is something that I haven't, like, just bear with me as I work this out because I haven't like taught this concept yet, but it's in my head. And it's largely along the lines of, first of all, it is a practice to practice being happy for someone else, right? Like you can set an intention, just like you can set an intention for gratitude. Like I'm going to actively go out of my way to look for things that I'm grateful for and about, right? Like the gratefulness practice or like gratefulness doesn't like just magically happen for most people. For most people, the way that we become the kind of person who's grateful is that we decide ahead of time that this is something we want to practice. And so every day we start actively looking for things that we're grateful for. And so I think it's a similar kind of thing where we can be appreciative of somebody else's performance or the good things that are happening for and to them or that they are achieving for themselves. I think that largely our ability to do that versus not largely stems from our own understanding of how of understanding is the word, but like our feeling about the place that we're personally in right now.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you're the type of person who has been practicing being grateful for small things in your life that you're happy about, or you've learned how to cultivate that gratitude, then you're likely have a foundation of being able to see good things, which puts you in the place where you're like, yeah, not everything's perfect here, but like generally speaking and overall, I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with how I'm managing my life. I'm happy with the path that I'm on, right? I'm happy. And when I'm happy with the path that I'm on, then when I watch somebody else achieve their thing
Mhm.
that like they've been working toward, it's a lot easier to be like genuinely really happy for
Mhm.
them, like that they achieved the thing. And so it I do think though that it also works the other way that when we're not happy with our own path, if we can cultivate genuine joy for somebody else along their path, that likely drags us like into that path too. Does that make sense? So, you know what I mean? Like, so if if I'm unhappy, hypothetically, let's just hypothetically, I'm unhappy with like my job situation. And, I've been looking for, hypothetically, I'm not actually looking for an outside job, but like, let's just say that I was. And like, I've been looking and I can't find one. And I'm super frustrated about that. And then I find out that Mikki got an outside job, a new one that she like really likes
Mhm.
and it's intriguing and she's interested in it and you're happy. And it's like, oh, what a perfect situation for you. You get to work remotely and you get to learn new things and you get a steady paycheck coming in and you get right there's two ways I could look at that, right? I could be like insanely jealous and start making excuses for myself of like why I'm not there too. Like,
Mhm.
or I can be like, wow, it's really cool for Mikki. I'm really, really glad for her. I'm really happy that she's on this path. And then just the simple act of me cultivating that feeling inside, like brings me to a place where I'm more likely to have something fall in my lap too.
Mhm.
Right. Or maybe I look and be like, what kind of things was Mikki doing in order to get that? Oh, she was networking with lots of people, right? She was talking to different people and asking about this and that. And finally, like one of the people she networked with was able to like come
Mhm.
through for her and come up with an opportunity because she was doing that. Okay. What if I network as well? Right. And I'm going to go then and do these things. But if I spend all my time being negative and jealous and envious. And
Yeah.
I look at it, and I'll use my company tagline here is like, it's not luck, but like if I just think like, well, Mikki just got lucky, like that's why she did it. And I don't actually look at the process of like what actually went into you like achieving the thing that you achieved. And I just think it's lucky on your part. There's no growth opportunity there for me. But if I look at it and be like, what was the process that she took in order to get there? Cause like, that's so cool that she did it. I can be inspired or I can be totally demotivated. And it depends
Hmm.
on like how I'm approaching looking at the way you did it. And I will tell you what, if I believe that it's luck, I'll just be demotivated. But if I believe that you earned that, then I'm like, oh, if she did it, then I can too. And I'll be
Yeah.
inspired
No,
by
it's,
that. And so that's
yeah.
my hope for the swim team is to be like, as some of them start to really excel and achieve, with the goal being that like we're all cheering for each other wherever we are along our paths, with the idea that if they did it, can we look at the process of what did they do to achieve that? Well, they came to practice every time. They ate a snack every time. They brought a bottle with like electrolyte fluids every time. And like they had a good attitude and they were curious every time. They worked on their streamlines off every wall. You know what I mean? Like those things you're like, oh, they did all those things and then they achieved the goal. That like that can just be inspiring. I don't know. There's something along those lines that I'm going to, in the next couple of weeks, be addressing, with my kids as well. But I do think it's a thing. I didn't used to always be happy for other people when they achieved success,
Hmm.
but it was part of a gratitude practice that allowed me to feel it in a way that I hadn't before. And now it's so stupid. I'm going to give you the dumbest story. Now, like I will watch and you'll laugh and I don't even care. So I can be vulnerable. Like I'll watch The Voice. It's my favorite like TV show. It's really the only one I watch.
I
And The
don't even know
Voice,
what
like,
is the voice.
okay, so it's a reality competition show on NBC
Okay.
where
Like a
these
singing, like
talented
this.
the singers,
Okay.
the talented singers
Okay.
come out, but it's different than American Idol or the other ones in that like they're not being judged as much as they're being like there's four coaches on deck and the coaches pick and choose which singers they want to work with and they compile their team and they say like, okay, you guys like here's my team of five singers and there's four coaches and they each have their singers and
Got
then they
it.
work with them behind the scenes, rearranging the song, helping them with the notes, helping them with their confidence, open up your chest. Like, so the coach then is actually helping the singer improve their craft. And then the
Got
coach
it.
becomes
Okay.
very invested, right? Like in how the singer does,
Got
because
it. Okay.
the coach was participating. And to me, very different than American Idol, which is either like you're good or you're not
Yeah.
good. And we're going to judge you on how you're good
Right.
or you're not good. I'm like, I hate that shit. But like when you get a coach that's like, hey, why don't you try this? What happens if you take it like down a half a step? I don't even know what that means, but they know what it means.
Yeah.
And when they do that, they're like, did you see how much better that was? Like, that was great. And so they're helping others do
Hmm.
better. And so, like, I watched this whole process, and then you can watch these singers just get better, like, week to week, right? So they show up again and they're like, oh my God, like, she came out of the woodwork. Like, when she changed her posture and she gained confidence and she came out and just belted that note and it was incredible what she did. I will cry. Like, I'll just cry tears of joy.
Aw.
Like I'll try to imagine, but it's a practice. Like I'm doing this, like I'm doing it as a mental practice for myself, practicing being genuinely happy for other people's success. And like, so here are these people, well, they'll say like, it's been my dream to be on the show. I've been watching the show since I was 10, that I'm 17 now and I made it on the show and I'm with this famous coach and I'm just so grateful to be here. And then you watch the work that they put in and then when they get to perform and do their thing, like I'll imagine being so joyful for their success. And I feel
Hmm.
it like so deeply that I cry. And that's a new thing. Like I didn't used to be able to do that, but I've like cultivated that on
Yeah.
purpose. And the cool thing
That's
is
good.
the
Yeah.
way that it like spills over into your own life is that when you can start being genuinely happy for other people, you can start to recognize your own success too. Like here's some things
Hmm.
that I'm doing well. And while here's another concept I'm going to teach at some point to these kids is the difference between arrogance and quiet confidence.
Hmm.
Like, and where's the difference there, right? Because like some people would be like, oh, especially with girls, if you're overconfident and then you come across as being arrogant, and like some people don't like that, you should be more humble. But like if you're gonna perform in any sports arena, like on a big stage, like confidence is a massive component to that. So if you're trying to develop this confidence, how do you do it in a way that's not arrogant?
Hmm.
And so it's all of these things that like you're trying, like if I'm trying to like I'm trying to cultivate quiet confidence. And it's like, I need to be able to point out to myself the things that I'm doing that are good.
Hmm.
And I can do that, but maybe if I can point out things that other people that are doing are good and feel genuinely happy for them, then it's like, oh, I can do that too. And you can do it in a
Hmm.
way that isn't arrogant, because arrogance is largely the same as like, what were we talking about before? It's actually like a lack of confidence. Like you're projecting. It's like
It was just,
perfectionism. So
yeah.
perfectionism is like I'm projecting this image of myself because deep down I don't really believe. I think arrogance is the
Hmm.
same. I'm projecting this air of confidence because I don't really believe that I need you to believe. So I'm going to pretend. Versus like the quiet confidence is like I don't actually need to say anything to you about how fast I'm about to swim because I'm just going to do it. Because because it's inside.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I
Yeah.
can help those kids like cultivate that, like the quiet confidence of knowing that like this is what I'm gonna do and I can't wait to do it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a little
Yeah.
winding
No,
road.
those are all, no, they're all, those are great concepts. And I think, yeah, all of us should, be revisiting them often, right? Because it's a constant, learning and relearning process of practicing, being happy, genuinely happy for other people. I will be very honest. I didn't feel a whole lot of jealousy or, envy in my sports career, in science, it's been a little more challenging the last few years. I wouldn't say jealousy necessarily, definitely a feeling. Well, it's difficult when you bring in, and this is true for sports, right? That are judged. Let's say, gymnastics, ice skating, right? Like there is a qualitative component. The same, I think, can be said for winning proposals, right? Like there is the hope that the best will win, but you are introducing a component of judgment by peers. And sometimes it is the luck of like who is on that review
Mhm.
panel. And so
Mhm.
I've struggled with feelings of like, yeah, what am I doing wrong? Right. Like frustration, like, and kind of throwing my hands up in terms of, well, if you can't, like, there's no consistency. There's, the feedback I'm getting is contradictory and not, so it's been challenging because I've not won a lot of proposals, not in comparison to how I used to perform in my proposals as an earlier career scientist. And that's been hard. It's been really a hard thing to, not get super negative because it's so easy. And this is my career, right? This is like my livelihood, how I pay bills, like how I survive. It's like a hard thing, when you are consistently declined and told that you're not good enough and that, so what I've tried to do though is look at who did win. What were their
Mhm.
proposals? Do I know
Mhm.
these people? Can I
Mhm.
ask to have them review my proposals? Right. Like, and sometimes it doesn't even work then. Right. Like they're like, this should have been, I would have funded this. Right. Like get into that. So yeah, this can, apply right to many things outside of sport in that, when you go either the self-judgment mode, the jealousy mode, envious, like it does shut down your capability to learn what you need to do to get better if you want to keep doing the thing, right? Whatever the thing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the sports
And
arena,
yeah, and knowing
yeah,
like what
yeah,
is in
yeah,
your control and what's not in
right.
your
What's not in
control,
your
right?
control,
So like if
right?
I'm going to control what I can control, I'm going to give the best proposal that like I can at the moment. And then being really honest with yourself too at times, like boy, there's a difference too, because like sometimes there is like I'm going to call it like judgment, but there's a degree of critique, right? That's
Hmm.
important to be able to take.
Hmm. Yeah,
Boy, that can be challenging too. Like,
it's
and
really,
that's what we talk about.
yeah.
Like, are you a coachable athlete, or not, or even in business or whatever? Like, are you coachable on like what your proposal? Like, you believe your proposal should have this thing and should not have that. But like the review panel is like, no, I think it should have that thing and not this, right? And so then it's on you to be like, can you let go of your own sort of like the like this is how I want to do it, but they want it done this way,
To see
so
it
I
different,
have to
yep,
change and do it the way that they want.
yeah.
Because there is a thing like so, and this is a thing that I'll share. I haven't shared it with my team yet, but is on my plan for Wednesday of this week. Is because our first meet is on Saturday, like already. We're 3 weeks in, and boom, like let's
Hmm.
go start racing. And what I've seen really commonly is like they'll just judge themselves, like was it a good race or not? Like just, and it's very black and white, right? It's either a good race, if like if they had their fastest time ever, it was a good race. If they didn't, it was a bad race. and like that's it. Right? Like,
Right.
we're gonna judge like pass or fail, and I'm like really gonna try to get us out of that mindset, right? That like every single race, no matter what time you went as compared to what time you've gone before, like there's always something to learn from there. So we are gonna approach every race with 3 questions, and I feel like everybody could do this for anything. You could do this for like your training sessions, you could do it for test sets, you could do it for races, you could do it for proposals, you could do it for pick the thing, right? Because it's very general. But number one, what am I happy with or proud of, like that I did, right? There was something that I did during that went well, or that I'm glad I did, that I'm proud of, I'm happy with, right? Something. Then the next thing is, what was the most challenging part of that, right? And it might have been something you expected or didn't, but like whatever part like didn't go well. And then the third thing is, what do I want to bring my intention on, like what do I want to focus on making better next time, right? So in the course of swimming, it could be like, I'm really happy with my start. I feel like I got a really good dive start. Like what I wasn't happy with was that third turn. Like I got lost in the turn and I started like, turning too early and my arms were all over the place and it felt sloppy. Like, so going forward, like I really want to bring my awareness into how I work the walls in and off the walls. And like, that's what I'm going to do next time. It's like, I really want to teach these like process driven goals that like, if you get that turn better, that's probably a whole second. Right. So
Right.
like then your time would
Right.
have been faster. And so looking at being able to critique, well, a couple things. Being able to take honest criticism from somebody who cares about you and wants you to do well, being able to hear what that feedback is without getting defensive about it is probably
Mhm.
a skill that everybody really needs
Huge.
to improve.
Huge. Yeah.
Talk about defensiveness. Holy moly. And then also being able to do that for yourself, because and what I'm seeing with these kids is a lot of times they really have no idea what they're doing right and wrong, because they're not thinking about it that much, like while they're doing it. Like they're not
Right.
paying close enough attention. So like I want them to start paying more attention to what it is exactly that you're doing while you're swimming, so that afterward you can be like, when I ask you like, where can you improve by 1%, especially my ones that are already really fast, right? Like you're already really fast. So to pick anything apart in your swim is going to be very picky, right? It's going to be nitpicky. But like, if you want to drop a half of a second, we're going to
Right.
have to get nitpicky, right? Like
Right.
that's what a half a second is nitpicky. And so can you feel that like, I felt like I was lifting my fingers a little more than I should have been, right? And I need to work on that fingertips down. Great. Okay. So work on that next time. Let's see how it goes. But I want them to be able to feel it too. So I just feel like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
focusing on the process, being able to receive critique without getting defensive. You see how much I only have 3 months to teach all this, Mikki. Like, do you see why I'm going to have to
But
like
you're
find
I
another team
know.
to coach? Like after this, like,
Yeah, there you go.
I,
That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm not going to teach all this in 3 months anyway.
Well, but you'll be back next year. It is, I know you'll have new, people leaving, people coming in. So yeah, that is the challenge with high school coaching, is like a lot of this will maybe be a little bit repetitive for some people, but then you need to teach it again for the
Yeah.
newcomers.
But I mean,
So
really, all this stuff, like I
yeah,
have to learn this stuff every week anyway. I
every,
relearn
yeah,
it, right? I mean, it's a practice. All of it is a practice.
all it
So,
is.
like, by the way, if anyone thinks because like I teach this stuff that I've got it nailed personally in my own life, like, let me laugh at you. I do my very best, right? And like I can be aware, but I mean,
It's
every day I'm bringing this to my awareness and trying and finding different arenas. Like even that story about watching The Voice, like I've
mhm,
learned that if I can cultivate that feeling of like, it's like I'm almost cultivating a feeling of their gratitude, like the way that
mm,
those singers feel gratitude for the opportunity that they've been giving and for the coaching that they have there and their opportunity to do this thing. It's like when you can like capture their gratefulness for being able to do that and like feel that even for yourself. Like it's such a weird I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but like
I can understand that. Yeah, it is. It's connecting. It's connecting, with maybe not them personally, right? But like the feelings and not to
mhm.
get too woo woo, but like the greater like meaning of
Yeah,
what it means to be human, right? Like, and to have
yeah,
the full range of human emotions, positive and negative, and
mhm,
I mean, because that's important, right? And I think that's
mhm.
makes us better humans and better performers, right? When we can do
Yeah,
that, I think we're
yeah.
just in a healthier headspace, quite honestly. So yeah,
That's probably what it is
what?
like
Yeah.
being able to be happy for somebody else puts you in an elevated space too. So then you're more likely to go like perform your best as well because you've gotten out of that like sort of negative spiral of judgment of like what
Right.
I'm not doing right. Right. If I want to look
Right.
for what I'm not doing right, that's really easy to find.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, because it's so easy. I think when there is someone that lives in that negativity and the constant judgment, I also think there's a propensity, not always, but to give up more easily.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. But because when they're in the post race result, post race breakdown is almost all negative, and they're just not fit enough, not fast enough to whatever, right? To I mean, name it, can't actually look at the real reasons, right? That maybe it was fueling, maybe it was they went too hard early on the bike, maybe whatever it might
Hmm.
be. They can't even see that. And when you can, sometimes they're open to feedback if they're working with a coach, like to say, like, well, actually, I think it's not that. It's that maybe it was too hot, you went out too hard, or it was harder than we expected, and you didn't adjust your race plan for that, right? Like, it has nothing to do. Well, then it's like, well, I want to be heat adapted. Okay, well, we can explore that anyways, versus someone that I think comes with a more open mindset, curiosity, confident in where they're at, right? Confident in the quiet confident space. Yeah, I think that often results in a higher performance across the board. I don't know. Again, it's often hard to suss these things out, right, in the details of the data or the feedback from the athlete. But I think us as coaches, we can kind of see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
do think that working with these
yeah,
kids in person will make me a better coach overall because
yeah,
there's just such direct, immediate
yeah,
feedback of like, we tried this and then this happened, but not for everybody. And having 28 different kids, right? Like
right,
you figure there'll
yeah,
be some things that work for some people and some things that
right.
don't. And like, I think I'll learn a lot about what doesn't
I'm
work,
sure.
as well as what does. And I think, I'm not to say I'm not afraid of making mistakes, but like it's a word, like I expect to make mistakes. And sort of like, and when I do, like, if I can model what it's like to make a mistake and admit it and apologize for it and just immediately change course, then like that's a life skill as well. Right.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
if I present myself like I'm perfect and I never ever make mistakes, and then like they're also
yeah,
going to feel like they can't make mistakes. And it's like, no, we're all
right.
in this and
Yes,
we're learning together and we're doing the
yeah.
best we can. Luckily, we have a meet every single Saturday for the next couple.
There you
So
go.
like,
Well, we know what you're
as I rip
doing
my hair out, you have
every
lots of
Saturday.
practices, lots of opportunities to practice
Wow.
this. Anyway, well,
Yeah.
Mikki, I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for the
I
conversations that we have.
yeah.
Thank you for being my friend and talking through this stuff with me.
I
And I
agree.
hope you have an
I
awesome
was going to say
Thanksgiving.
great mind. Yeah, great minds think alike. Because I was literally going to end on the same note. I was like, "What am I grateful for?" I'm grateful for you, podcasting, to all these awesome conversations. So yeah, I hope that you and yours have an awesome Thanksgiving. And yeah, thanks for a great conversation again.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, bye, Michelle.
All right, bye.